turbo taters. Well, we are starting today's episode here in the back of the Hoonigan Racing shop, where there's actually a lot going on. Not only do we have most every one of my race cars in town, along with my wife's daily driver and my sometimes daily driver, the RS200, but we are also in the midst of finalizing the wrap on my Ford Escort RS Kazi version 2, which is getting ready to actually launch this weekend at the Burnyard. So by the time this video comes out, this will already be launched, but you're seeing it in the midst of being wrapped and actually ready to ship to WRC Mexico, which is actually only in a couple weeks. I think I test 2 weeks from today. Wow, things happen fast. Anyway, you can see lots of parts around on the ground from the Kazi getting wrapped up. Busy time here at Hoonigan Racing, but today is a Monday, and I get to go do something fun today, which is go ride that thing, which is my Ski-Doo Summit Turbo. And we're gonna go up to Idaho, meet up with our friend Tony Jenkins, talk about the turbo and give some cool details on it because it's super rad, and then go race it up some mountains and have some fun up there in Idaho. So yeah, F450 loaded up, mine and Butch's sled. We actually have another F450 with a couple more sleds, one for you, Pierre. And yeah, let's go do this. All right, well, we made it. Island Park, Idaho, and we're at the Ponds Lodge. We're at the Ponds Lodge. And man, that's actually really fun. I haven't slid an F450 around in a while. It's actually quite a challenge, especially with all that weight on the back. That was fun. We'll get these things unloaded and then talk about this turbo. Let's do that. Thanks, Butch. All right, so here it is. This is the Ski-Doo Summit 850 E-TEC Turbo.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
Let's talk about this thing. This thing's pretty special, but I need help. I need someone that really knows this thing inside and out. Tony Jenkins. Tony, where you at? That's a good entrance. I don't really like to jump the flat. That's a personal pet peeve. But you handled it like a champ.
That's still young enough. I can take you on the knees.
See, I haven't ridden snowmobiles enough to like do that. Let's just jump the flat for the hell of it and see what it feels like. All right, so you're here to tell us about this turbo. But first, can you give us a little background about yourself? Because you grew up, we drove through Idaho Falls on the way to get here, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in Idaho Falls as a kid. My grandparents had a cabin up here, and every weekend when I was a child, basically cruised all the trails. Mountain riding at that time didn't really exist.
Yeah.
So we cruised the trails, spent a lot of time at Ponds Lodge, West Yellowstone. So this is my backyard, and welcome to Island Park.
Well, thanks for having me. The first time being here, and it already looks amazing. But you grew up on a much different sled, though, because you said trail riding. So today's modern sleds, including like this turbo and that Expert, that Summit Expert. I mean, these are modern day hill monsters. These are the things that can climb things that wasn't even fathomable when you were a kid, right?
Yeah,
Even 10 years, the stuff that these things are doing it's quite a leap, right?
it is. It is. You look what we have now, and the technology is just keeps escalating every year. And now we have a factory 2-stroke turbo.
And that's the first ever, right? Like I've had turbos on my sides. I know you told me you've had turbos since when?
Yeah. Since 2010, I've had aftermarket turbos
Right.
on snowmobiles.
Right.
But this is the first ever factory 2-stroke turbo in anything.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's the best part is for the consumer, it comes with warranty.
Yeah. So if something happens, you take it back to the dealer and they fix it. It's not like you have to go to some random aftermarket shop.
So basically, the turbo started 4 years ago in development
Jeez.
with engineering. It's a in-house, all engineered by Rotax and BRP. It's a Rotax turbo, and they did a phenomenal job. And they thought of everything possible to make this sled spot on.
All right, well, come over here. Let's talk about this in a little more detail. The main thing is I like turbos.
I love you like la 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 la.
It's like almost everything that I own. I think I only have one race car that doesn't have a turbo on it. And unfortunately, we're thinking about putting a turbo on it. But the thing that's key about snowmobiling is we're at altitude. And as you go up in altitude, you go down in horsepower. And a prime example for me on that is we went to do the Pikes Peak Climb Kana a couple years ago. And the power of that engine gets robbed so much when you go to 14,000 feet that how we solved me having the power to do what I wanted to do up there is we put twin turbos on it. 2 turbos sticking out of the hood, 1,400 horsepower. Problem solved, but still you're still getting robbed of some horsepower up there. But Ski-Doo's concept with this wasn't just like, let's add a bunch of horsepower. Let's do it in a smart way so that when you go up to altitude, you continue to get power. Right? Is that?
Yeah, no,
did I explain that well?
Yeah, you did a really good job.
Okay.
I like to call it an altitude compensator. The thing with this is at sea level, we have 165 horsepower and we're at 8,000 feet. So we are still at 165 horsepower.
Right. So what you're saying though is a normally aspirated engine would just keep dropping and you would lose that 40 horsepower.
Yep, exactly.
Whereas this, it stays at that 165, even up at 10,000 feet, or does you still start to lose?
You'll lose a little bit. You lose
Yeah.
a little bit after 8,000, but you just basically, it's 40 horsepower more
Right.
at past 8,000 feet.
So as you get higher and higher, the turbo is just creating a more consistent power as you continue to go up. So to me, it's brilliant. But there's also another very brilliant thing about this, which is in a previous video, I talk about the fact that I was going to go to no turbo this winter because I wanted the low end power to work on my riding through trees and difficult conditions. Because with the aftermarket turbos, you generally lose bottom end and you just have this sort of peaky, it's like 80s and 90s rally cars or street cars where you just had this big peaky power. But now they've built a system here that Tony's going to tell us about, which keeps bottom end as you then build power as you go up in the power range with the turbo. So how'd they do that, Tony? Please talk.
So basically we have a turbocharger. The exhaust pushes the turbo, creating a spin of boost pressure, and that goes into the airbox. So what Ski-Doo did here, and the engineers from BRP, they got together and developed the first ever airbox that basically is breathing natural airflow, and then it has a valve that switches over. So once you get like 6,200 RPM, boost pressure opens the valve and boost pressure is flowing. So that what that does is gives us an instant throttle response, and its drivability is basically perfect.
You know, I've always been impressed by what Ski-Doo and BRP with Sea-Doo and Can-Am already do with all their stuff, but to hear that sort of idea and application to a very cool toy that I enjoy in the mountains, I was really blown away. And now that I've ridden it a couple times, even more impressed. So let's go have some fun in the backcountry, but I think that we should try and do a little like drag race comparison. So this isn't made for like a drag race strip to really show like the performance difference. Where would you really see a performance difference that we could make a simple drag race that they could watch and understand.
For one, let's find a hill that can put it under a load. That way we can show it at elevation, stock versus turbocharged, and the viewer can see for themselves.
Okay, now I did bring my brand new Expert Summit X with Expert package, the red and white one over there. So that's perfect one that we can compare it with.
Yeah, it's a great example.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's go have some fun.
Let's do it.
All right, well, so we ventured into the backcountry. We're at about 9,000 feet.
Yeah, give or take.
And what have you brought us to?
So, yeah, like we said, let's do a drag race.
Yep.
Turbo versus stock.
Yep.
Naturally aspirated versus boosted.
Yep.
Got a hill we can drag race up to the top, and we're going to see what it can do.
Yep. So the conditions are a bit stiff today, so it's actually going to be a really good representation. We're at the right altitude. The snow's very consistent. It's a south-facing slope, so it's probably pretty baked.
Yeah.
So, but everything seems to be pretty grippy, so it'll be a very good comparison of the NA versus the turbo. Yeah. So you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Sorry to make you ride back to an NA.
Wait, who's riding the turbo?
I am.
Okay.
This is my channel. All right, let's go do this.
That's not fair.
All right, so we had to do that drag race twice because what looks very smooth and easy from down here actually ended up being quite a little entry sort of climb and leveled off and then went into the big slope. So we did it once. I kind of messed up a little bit on the start, so we did it again starting on top of the little shelf, and I think that was a better run to give a more exact example.
Yeah, it was a better
right?
perspective.
That really shows it, right? I look back and you weren't close to me. You were pretty far back on that second one.
It's cheating.
Yeah. Well, that really shows it. We're at
Yeah, it
9,000
does.
feet.
Yeah.
It's the same CC engine. That turbo just adds a very nice, consistent power coming all the way up to this elevation.
Yeah, you had 40 more horse than I did.
Yep. Thank you, Ski-Doo. That's awesome. But you can also see over there, too, we had some fun making some S-turns. There's only about this much powder, like sugary powder over there, so we played around a little bit. What's next?
I think it's lunchtime, so why don't you make us some turbo taters?
So you have to explain, most people don't understand how we heat things in the backcountry, so quick explanation.
So what we do is we take a tin foil and whatever food, sandwich, whatever we make, we basically press it into the exhaust, so the turbo sits here, exhaust, and then we close the side panel to the machine, and make a panini press. But today we have baked potatoes
Okay.
with cheese, bacon, chives, the whole works.
So, turbo taters. I think we should patent that. Trademark that. Turbo taters. All right, let's go put it on.
All right. So, exhaust, side panel, but obviously beware of hot parts. All right. So you kind of got to force it in, smash it.
This is where we say don't try this at home.
3 minutes on each side, good to go.
Gonna make it hot, gonna make it till it drops. Never gonna pick it up, gonna take it to the top. I'm
I think I've successfully heated it. Lunch is ready.
Our turbo taters are ready. Thanks, buddy.
Nice and warm. Food in the backcountry always tastes better.
Especially when it's warm.
Yeah. What was the chef's name that took care of us?
John took care of us.
John at
Ponds
Lodge. Thank you, John.
That's pretty good.
Well, that was one of the better lunches I've had in the backcountry, especially at 10,000 feet. But what's next?
Well, you know, our snow's kind of compromised. We've been doing a lot of sightseeing, and it's not very often you can actually get to see a lot of these peaks.
So by the way, when he says compromise, the snow is very good. It's beautiful out here. It just hasn't snowed in a couple of weeks, so it's quite hard snow. We're just having a little difficulty finding like soft stuff in the trees or anything. But I definitely see the potential of this place, but this just isn't the perfect conditions. So go on.
Yeah, so like I said, you can. This is pretty rare. You can see all these white peaks, and so what I'll do is take you to the top of Mount Jefferson, which is the tallest peak in this range of the Centennials.
Yeah, and then we're gonna head out. So yeah, so there'll be a nice little action montage here of us climbing all the way up there, and then we're gonna go back to the truck, go home. So thanks.
It's been awesome. Man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look at that donut. It's a donut on the side of a mountain. I need to learn that. I feel like I'm lacking right now. Yeah, if I came here and saw those marks where Tony was playing, I would assume somebody got stuck like 6 times. The engine with the turbo like that, having that much power at your fingertips, so it makes that possible. And a lot of talent, man, a lot of talent.